Welcome back to the channel. My name is Brad, and today we're going to talk about the shell game of CLOs. We're going to look at EIC, SPMC, and PDCC and look at their holdings and why I call this a shell game. If that's what you're interested in, stay tuned. So yesterday I did a video, link above, so you can go watch it so you can understand a little more about CLOs. But a comment from one of the members came in last night that I could not compare the debt tranches against the equity tranches because SPMC doesn't hold any debt tranche. Really? That's interesting that somebody says that, and then you actually look at the holdings and you might come up with something different than what they actually try to tell you in the charts. But he's correct. According to their fact sheet, they don't actually hold any debt tranche. But I'm here to tell you, you need to look a little bit farther under the hood to actually understand what they hold, because just believing a pie chart or just believing in what somebody says on Seeking Alpha or any other source, you might get yourself in a little bit of trouble, including YouTube. But I'm going to break it down, leave all the links down below so you can go do your own research. And nothing I say is legal, financial, or other advice, just what Brad's interpretation of this data is. So what's Brad talking about? What is Brad ranting on about today? So debt tranche is BB and above. All your B's and below, B plus and below, are equity tranche. I've shown this chart before. So BB, BBB, then your A's, that is considered to be debt tranche. So the equity tranche is B plus and below. I think that's a straightforward definition. So what we do is we go out and we download these fact sheets, and we are trusting that these trusty closed-end funds are giving you the correct data. So if I look at EIC and they say, hey, we have debt tranche and we have this huge debt tranche. Okay. And I just sit there and go, I believe you. I believe you have it. And you have a CLO tranche. I believe you. 24%. That sounds about right. I go look at the ratings of their holdings. It says S&P ratings. Notice it says S&P ratings. So it gives you the BBs and Bs and all that, and you can add them up and you can come up to your own conclusion of what they have. Very nice. I think I believe it. If I go to SPMC and I look at their chart, I say, wait a second. It says equity and CLO debt, and they give you all these different letters. Well, they're using the Moody ratings. Oh my gosh, now what? Is this all equity? I mean, that's what their chart says. I would have to believe them, but let's look under the hood, ladies and gentlemen. Let's not believe what a pie chart says, because you can take those ratings and convert them over to S&P ratings. So we go out, and I found a couple sources. I found the Moody ratings, and I found Wolf Street and their crossover ratings. And I will say that I found other sources, because Wolf Street gave the sources of where they found their crossovers. So this was researched by investment banks. So they did a crossover, so you don't have to do all this yourself. Well, if I do that and I take B ratings for the B minus and above, I come up with a chart looking like this. Very similar. EIC is very close to what they said. SPMC, wait a second, that's not what they said on their chart. And PDCC doesn't say anything. It only gives you their loans. It doesn't tell you which tranche it's in. They just give you the, here's our loans and where they fall in their ratings, but they don't tell you this is equity tranche and this is debt tranche. You should know what your tranches are. You should know what the B's are. You should know what the C's are. because there's not a BB tranche that is going to be considered equity. There's not a AA tranche or any of the A's that's considered to be equity. That it does not exist. It doesn't exist, ladies and gentlemen. I've scoured the internet. It does not exist. So you got to go back and say, whoa, wait a second. Let's look at this. Give you a better example. So B minus and greater, you can see that EIC is the lowest holder, because remember, there's no BB minus and greater that's considered to be equity. It does not exist. I can't find any sources. And if anybody says, oh no, there's this source, please leave a comment below and tell me where to find it, because I am literally looking at the tranches of each individual one and not believing you can't compare the two, because you can. You can go out and look at the ratings. So if I put this all onto one big chart, distribution rates at the side, on the left-hand side, at least left-hand side for me, I see that EIC pays the most, followed by SPMC, followed by PDCC. And then if I look at the actual loans, EIC has more from that B rating down, and they have less from the B plus up. Okay, they should be paying you more because they're taking more risk. And again, just going to say this, triple A minus somehow is considered to be a equity tranche. Wow, and double B's or an equity tranche. I am going to call, yeah, you just know what I just called. And if I look at this, I can see SPMC is weighted more towards the B plus and higher. Same thing can be said about PDCC, that they're rated B and higher. And that's why they're paying less. So it's an interesting concept of actually looking at the loans and not just looking at what they're putting on a pie chart telling you this is equity and this is debt, because it's actually the actual ratings of the loan that we care about. The next thing I care about is weighted average maturity distribution. Yeah, you can call it maturity distribution of underlying obligators. You can call it a bunch of different things. They're talking about the same thing. When does these CLOs mature? And that is important. The farther out or you get, kind of the better off you are. So if I put this on one big chart, I see that PDCC matures earlier. SPMC appears to mature later. EIC is kind of evenly spread across the board, but tends to have a greater in 2028. So let's go and call this almost even between SPMC and EIC in their distributions, at least in my eyes. You can always say something different, but to that sweet dividends guy out there that always makes a nice comment, I'm going to bring this chart up. Tell me what's wrong with it, sweet dividends. If I look at EIC, it goes 2030 and then 2021. If we have maturity coming in at 2021, guess what? We have an issue, because that was a few years ago. So just one of those little things that I thought was funny, that you gotta look beyond pie charts, because everybody is human, and especially Brad, he makes a lot of mistakes. So you gotta take a very good look at these tranches and not just believe what a pie chart says. You got to look at what were actually in the loans. If the loans are BB minus and above, that is going to be considered debt. If it is B plus and below, that is going to be considered equity. That is the definition that I have. And I have yet to find a definition that has triple A's in the equity tranche. It doesn't exist. At least I can't find one. But what I should also point out, and links are going to be to all of this below, is the CEO of EIC did a podcast. I'm going to leave that link below on Seeking Alpha. I think you should go listen to him because he talked about the ETF world in CLOs and kind of brought up the whole thing that I brought up yesterday in the video. He also pointed out that his holdings are readily available out on the internet and exactly what he holds. So I went and took a gander of what he holds, and all I can do is smile because one of his holdings, besides his own funds of EIC and ECC, is a fund that I own. Yeah, how did that happen? He also holds a business development company, and I thought that that was interesting, and we're going to review that business development company over the next couple weeks when I get the time, because I thought it was very interesting that a CLO fund manager was actually holding a business development company. Full disclosure. The other one that I thought that was interesting in that interview and through that data was his aspect on where the CLO market was going, and it is definitely going up over time. Something that you should be considering for your portfolio. So I hopefully you found all this information enlightening, or Brad's thought on this information, and I could be totally wrong. Maybe somebody can point out that triple A's are in the equity tranche. Okay, I'm waiting to see that article. But until next time, God bless.